see how their actions, and I take into account myself too, their actions affect another person. So in this circumstance, I may not be the same person that I was in the past, but this gave me complete insight and a view into how other people would have felt about me for my own actions about this certain circumstance, about not giving a person space, about not giving a person time to recharge their battery, about not respecting boundaries, or listening if somebody told me. But the only difference is that in the past, other people used to not explain anything to me. They just used to treat me a certain way if they weren't happy with certain things I said, or maybe if I was smothering them in some way, they wouldn't voice it. In this circumstance with this person, I voiced it very specifically, and I had to raise my voice because every time I felt, actually, I didn't have to raise my voice, but it got escalated to the point where I did raise my voice because it was not being heard. And then the moment I raised my voice, I realized, okay, this is a perfect example for me to take self accountability. Now I know what it's like. Now I know how other people must have felt. Now I know how other people must have seen me or felt about me, but it's not a personal thing. It's just boundaries. And um, this time around, instead of not saying anything and giving in, or not saying anything and then just treating or having resentment for a person, I stood up for myself and I spoke out in truth about how I felt. I said exactly how I felt. And the other person may not have liked it, but I didn't care about how the other person would feel when I expressed myself, because this was for me. I had to say something. I didn't want to string a person along. I didn't want them to feel bad about something. I made sure that it was clear that it was not a personal stab, but at the same time had to definitely stand up for myself. Because had I not done that, had I given in and said, okay, whatever, I just won't say anything, I would have grown resentful over time because my boundaries weren't being respected, because things were being like, I was being drained constantly because, I wasn't doing anything for myself. I was giving of myself, giving, 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 giving. And had I not said anything, even if the other person wasn't doing it intentionally, okay, don't misconstrue my words or my message that I'm trying to get across. Had I not spoken up and said anything, it would have continued, and it would have either ended even worse off than it was now, or I just would have not been respecting myself at all and giving of myself. So this was a good example, and then also gave me insight of how I used to be. Definitely love yourself enough to stand up for yourself and speak your truth. Even if the other person says, well, I didn't mean to, or that's not what I was trying to do, or you're making it sound like I'm a bad person. I said, no, this is me voicing it. Okay, this is me voicing, standing up for myself. And if the other person's like, oh, well, you know, uh, you're making it sound like I'm the bad person, like there's obviously something wrong with me. No, no, I'm just letting you know. I'm voicing it right now. This is not okay. I'm not happy about the way things are going. The way the interaction has been. Even if it's just somebody that you meet and you're hanging out with or something like that, or a family member of yours or something, every time you express your boundary line and they keep stepping over it, they're not respecting you. And then every time you don't stand up for yourself, voice your opinion, let them know, you're not respecting yourself. And yeah, resentment will build and things will get even more escalated. And there is no communication there. Now, I feel like I'd done the best that I could, and over time, I expressed myself and was not being respected, regardless of whether or not it was intentional. But I did express myself. I did not hold back. I was in no fear of what the reaction would be when I expressed myself. And I had no fear of what the reaction would be as of this communication time when I expressed myself, when I had already raised my voice. So if it happens with you, you're in a situation and somebody's not respecting your boundaries and you keep giving in, you're teaching them how you want to be treated. Even if it's not how you want to be treated, you're teaching them how to treat you. Every time there's something that goes on and somebody is overstepping those boundaries, or they keep doing something that you don't appreciate, even if you voiced it before and they still are not listening, regardless if they're doing it on purpose or not, they may not feel like they're doing it on purpose, or subconsciously they may not even realize they're doing it. But if you voiced yourself more than enough times and they're still not respecting it, you have the right to stand up for yourself. Do not be afraid of what their reaction is going to be, because who are you trying to impress? Who are you trying to respect? You have all respect for that person enough to explain to them. And then when they don't listen, then if you're not respecting yourself by voicing your opinion, then you just give in all the time, then you're not respecting yourself. So I understand this sort of thing can be difficult. It'll be difficult depending on the circumstance, depending on what it is that you are having to talk about. But every time you give in to a person when they have disrespected your boundaries, or they are doing something that you blatantly ask them not to, or you have explained nicely, please don't do that, say that, whatever, regardless of what it is, something small to something very big. Every time they step over the boundary and you have to constantly remind them, then they're not listening to you. And that is a lack of respect. And if you keep giving in, then you're not respecting yourself. Self-respect is very important, and it's a very important message to get across to another person. If they are not respecting you and they keep stepping over the boundary line, then you have a right to stand up for yourself. Do not let anybody convince you otherwise.